Opening up the canopy, that's what we're gonna be working out on the farm here today, guys. We're back here in the woods. I got a good friend, Austin. He's part of the family of the previous owners. He's been a huge help getting to know the property and getting some work done and things like that. I don't wanna just walk around though and show you, you know, my work with the chainsaw and things like that. We're gonna find some good examples that you can look for. So when you go into the woods and you're trying to do the same thing, you have some idea. We're not going to, you know, start the hinge cutting or anything like that before we can open up the canopy. Most of you guys already know the benefits of getting the sun in, adding that herbaceous growth, getting some more food for the deer, so we're not gonna cover any of that. Just certain species of trees, what we're trying to do. Again, so you guys have something to look for. We're gonna cut a few trees off of the access trail and get that opened up. And once we're done with that, we're gonna head into the woods. I'm gonna show you guys one of the tools that I use, and we'll start cutting for habitat. So be right back. All right, so we just finished clearing out some of the trees along the access path. Took a little longer than you know, I was thinking. We had one get caught up, so we wasted a little time there, but it's kind of a bummer. But we made it back into the woods where we are gonna try and set up now specific pockets. So we're gonna open up the canopy so that we can come back weeks later and we can start hinging and really make these types of pockets. I don't know if you can see this way, but it's the start of where we had some food this past year. It's actually gonna be mostly covered in just a diversity pocket, but we do want to add some layering basically off of this so that we have deer bedding in here. They have a nice pocket there they can also bed in, and then farther back, I don't know, probably maybe 300 yards or so, 250, 300, we will have the food plot trail for them to hop up on, and then some more buck bedding there back into the woods. So first example, actually before I get to the first example, I wanted to give a quick little tip, like I always try and do for you guys, on something that you can use for this, which is an app I found, and it's called Picture This. And I don't know if you can see basically that little flower there, the little flower there at the bottom. That Picture This app is one that I found that doesn't need leaves to tell you what kind of tree it is. So I'm going to show you. It actually, it only takes like 5 to 10 seconds. You take a picture of the tree, just the bark alone. You don't need the leaves, like I said, and it will still tell you what kind of tree it is. So like on this one, we had a white oak a few feet from me over here. And this is such an important, I was very happy with it, an important tool, because during this time where we're trying to do hinge cuts and get this cutting done in January, February, where it's a little bit colder or maybe just starting to warm up, the leaves aren't here. So most of you guys are probably, or many of you, similar to me. I'm not a tree expert. I don't know all the different types. So being able to use the app, take a picture, and find out what kind of tree it is such a blessing. And not needing the leaves. Now there is a free app that you can use the leaves for. I think it's called Plant Snap. Where you can take a picture of the leaf and it'll tell you what it is. But being able to do this, take a picture in 5 to 10 seconds, know what type of tree it is, and kind of move along. Now there was like a 7-day trial or so, and then it cost about 30 bucks for the year. But you know, the main years are for you guys out there that's starting on a new property like myself, where you're gonna do the majority of your cutting. To be able to use this app for the first couple years or year or two, you know, spend 30 bucks, I think is well worth it. So you're not cutting down all your oaks or something to that effect. So outside of that, first tree we're gonna do is actually this nice large birch tree. And the reason we are going to do that for this specific one is just to open up the canopy. If you look up there, you can see how much, surprisingly, normally birches don't actually have too much canopy. They're very straight laced, but this one does, and it's kind of on an edge of where we're going to have this pocket. So we are going to take this down specifically just to let the light in, to get some sunlight into this pocket, and then we're going to move on to another example for you guys. So this is a pretty straightforward tree. It just had a slight lean to it. We're gonna do, you know, the traditional notch, if you will. Nothing too complicated. Something to make note of is to make sure that you guys have a way out, you know, clear any debris and brush around you, and make sure you know where you're gonna be going once that tree starts to fall. But with this first one, definitely not too much craziness. All right, so the birch came down very nice over there. Still some great side cover, and we definitely let a nice, huge, big hole through the canopy like we're trying to do. So that's a perfect example. The second example that we're going to show you right now is not just opening up the canopy, even though this particular one's a little bit small, but it is a poplar type of poplar tree here. This small one. and it's right next to an oak, which we actually have quite a few oaks in this little pocket of a bedding area. So we're okay taking some to make sure that when we hinge cut, we have enough light in here, we have plenty of acorns. So that is okay, guys. Don't be discouraged. If you have oaks, half of the trees I'm taking pictures of this app end up being an oak. So, you know, we're gonna have plenty of acorns here still. And it also gives, you know, the really mature oaks more room to grow and flourish. But anyway, so with this poplar, we're gonna cut the oak behind it down, and this poplar, we're gonna let in quite a bit of sun up there. And also, being right next to each other, the other benefit is that this poplar, right, we're gonna get a ton of shoots from the bottom. Once these are dead, guys, you've probably heard about this, but it is cutting them, killing it. And what they actually mean by that, if you're all scratching your head sometimes, is right around from the roots, things will sprout up from there, from the ground. They're not gonna come off the dead tree, of course, or whatever's laying on the ground, but they're gonna come out of the ground in that area. So boom, we're getting sun, and two, we're gonna get the shoots from the poplar. We'll probably find a few more, and that sun with the nice, you know, south-facing east, you know, the sun coming up here is gonna let that light come right through into where we're gonna have some hinges in that bedding. So that's the second example, and I'm gonna find another good one for you guys. All right, guys, we have our last example here for the day that we're gonna talk about to release some canopy up there. All right, so we're gonna open up that sunlight. The other reason we're picking this junk tree here is because exactly that. It is a junk tree, and basically we have some oaks around, one there. Well, they're really kind of all around, and this is really serving us no other purpose. It's even so poor, like I don't even really want to hinge it. We'll have some other really beneficial hinge cuts in this area that we just want to open up some of that canopy, let some more sun in for these oaks. A lot of people call it releasing a tree. So like they could say we're releasing that oak over here because the sun's going to come right through, shine down at that oak, and this will be clear out of the way. So that's an example. You will also have a lot of people saying, well, you know, obviously you want the junk trees for deer, and that's totally true. It still provides food, it provides the most side cover, but that's kind of when, you know, we're hinge cutting and stuff. That's gonna be a separate video. This is really to not only save some of the good trees, but let in that sunlight so that our hinge cuts will live when we get to that point. I know I've been saying that almost every video, but that's true. We're going step by step. So we're gonna do this tree. That's really your third example for the day. This is just one area that we're gonna have a pocket, or some people would call a layer from that field over there. We'll have a nice layer right in here of some hinge cuts when we come back to do that. But we're gonna have probably two other of these pockets in the back, and then we'll have all the hinge cuts along the travel corridor and freeing that up. So a lot of work to be done. We'll get a quick a time lapse here and go from there. One thing to make sure of, guys, is that when you are cutting, you really have a plan for where that tree is gonna fall. We did a bunch of big trees before this and really didn't have too much issues as far as them getting hung up on other trees. But this, I should have paid attention and realized it's gonna be a little bit lighter of a limb and it might not easily get through. It gets hung up and then we have to deal with it for a half hour. So don't forget that. Austin here is clearing up some of the limbs and debris around the tree. As we wrapped up, we found this large maple that we thought we should really take out since we were already there, now that our saws are getting nice and dull, right? So anyway, he's clearing that up. This has quite a large canopy, as you can see, probably the biggest tree of the day that we've decided to take down. But it was quite a bit of fun. We set up the GoPro and we got it down exactly where we wanted. So you can also see a lot of the little brush that's around, and that's really gonna thicken up as we get a huge amount of sunlight that it wasn't getting before. I kind of talk about this like I do painting, because when you're painting, you make the biggest difference with kind of a minimal amount of work. It is a lot of work, but it makes such a huge difference. You feel really proud when you're done. All right, guys, so we just cut our last tree for the day. This nice big one here with all the stems coming out, and look at this hole. I mean, that is a huge bunch of sunlight that's gonna be able to come through here, shine on these oaks. So just to do a quick recap, we have one, just opening up pure canopy. You just need more sunlight. And actually, when Jeff came to the property, that was the first thing. He said, Joe, cut 20 trees. So boom, right there. I mean, it's just kind of an intro to the canopy and those facts. The second one, poplars, aspen, and those types, great regeneration. Get some of them down near the bedding areas that you want, which we did. And lastly, those junk trees, kind of releasing other nicer trees, letting them get the sunlight, and also just, you know, creating more and more food, not only that the oak might produce, but the food around the oak. And you can see kind of that junk tree that we did, and the oaks behind it that, you know, it will be releasing technically. So that is it for today. We really have, you know, at least 2 more pockets like this that we want to do. So it is a decent amount of work, and that's not including coming back and doing the hinging and things like that. So I'll have those videos coming. And again, I know I said a couple of other reviews on different products and those things around the way. Started using the new chainsaw, the 461, which I'll touch on. Definitely not an expert. This safety gear is not because I'm a professional, it's because I need it. But we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoy this, you want to follow along, please hit that subscribe and like button, and we'll see you soon. Bye.